Hello everyone, back again. Second time around. Brian Jennings. This channel exists as a method of therapy for me to process my pathological relationship with Quentin Tarantino. I am the reason that Quentin canceled the movie Critic last April. Right? And when I didn't bend to his psychic whim, he and the cabal of degenerates that surround him entered into a Faustian covenant to compel me to lose my mind and blow my brains out. On some level, he's succeeded, right? But in the same sense, right, the pendulum swings both ways, right? And so we're talking about it now because my anxiety has hit a fever pitch. His evil has hit a fever pitch as well. Right? But I live in a perpetual state of fear that he's going to hit his breaking point psychologically and send someone to blow my fucking head off because then he has no more problems. Right? So I've written a novelization of my experiences. It's called Building a Coven, as in a witch's coven. Right? And even though it wasn't my idea, it's his idea. It's the perfect fucking title. Because if I don't have people, right, holding him accountable, right? If I don't have my coven of clairvoyance like he has his, when he kicks his film back off in December, if we have not reconciled, he will torture me with a palpable evil that no court can ever try him on and he can always deny. Right? This is the game, right? We've been locked in a savage psychic siege for going on 2 years now. Quentin is a powerful psychic clairvoyant who remote views people and jumps into the mind of the actors in his films. He sees movies as the ultimate expression of occult intention, right? I am the most powerful clairvoyant of the millennial generation, right? So this is why the channel exists. We're talking about it. Between the first video and now, I've been doing several things, actually. Here's, right, what is that? Right? Atlantis. Right? So, Poseidon and his wife Cleito had 5 sets of twins, 10 sons. Right? So, right? 10 pentagrams, 10 pentagons, right? And then 10 pentagrams above it. Right? And so if I keep going, and I suppose I will in due time, that there would be 10 of these all the way around. Right? So, perhaps some of you might be wondering, if any of you watched my previous video, where does this guy get off calling himself a 33rd degree Freemason? 1 second. Perpetual fear, perpetual anxiety, right? Had to lock the door, right? Where does this guy get off? Like, what an arrogant ass, right? So, right? You saw Atlantis, right? How you think I made that, right? Compass and straight edge, right? And what is the compass? Symbol of fucking Freemasonry, right? Let's talk about the books I got. What is this? Keith Critchlow, Order in Space, right? Freemasons use the compass as a symbol because it unlocks the celestial resonance in your mind. That's the point. Do Freemasons understand that? Most of them don't. Freemasonry is a fucking fraternity, right? What do they do at most fraternities? Get drunk and make fools of themselves, right? But the motto is making good men better, right? So it's a way for men to come together, right? Discuss their ignorance, figure out how to give back to the community in a palpable way, right? And this is all fine. You don't have to, right? You can be a good Mason and have nothing to do with the mystery traditions. Right? But in that way, right, how do I arrive at my decision? Right? Fourfold. What's that? Morals and Dogma. Albert Pike. Already read. 1,000 pages. Right. What's that? Esoterica. Albert Pike. Already read it. Right? There's only 6,000 of these books. Right? And the 2 that I got today that I'm stoked on, right? The Book of the Words, right? Albert Pike, right? Again, 1 printing, that's it, right? All these books are out of print. And the real jewel, right? And I'm going to take a second to give a shout out to this guy. Came from the Illuminated Library. He put the book in this beautiful wrapping. Put my name, right? The A is a compass and square, right? It's a really nice touch with the wax. Right? It's a beautiful, beautiful packaging. And here's the book, of course. Such a beautiful book. The Illuminated Library, right? They have an eBay page, right? They sell badass books on esotericism, right? And so the bookmark that he gave me says, "Dear reader, thank you for your purchase of this selection from the Illuminated Library. It is truly appreciated. I hope this book brings you countless hours of reading enjoyment and earns an honored place upon your bookshelf for many years to come. I'd love to hear from you and hope to serve you again someday. Your feedback is greatly appreciated." Class. All class. Right? And he was actively speaking to me because I put the wrong address and I managed to still get them. Right? But, right? My point is that, like, I don't say these things haphazardly, right? Like, I don't say them to be an arrogant ass. Right? Right? That I could, right? And so Freemasonry is an extension, right? It's one branch of the esoteric wisdom tree, right? Occult intention tree, right? Right? So, I could talk about Manly Parmahal. I could talk about H.P. Blavatsky. I could talk about Hermeticism, right? And there's, of course, that's all mentioned in Pike, right? That he's his own master. That's the point, right? What's that? 7-pointed star, right? Right? Prime number magic, right? That all these things are connected, right? Right? So how you make that sign? How you make that symbol? With that. That's how. Right? They don't talk anything about construction in Freemasonry, in practical Freemasonry, right? That it's all allegories, right? The rough ashlar, the perfect ashlar, right? The hammer, it's like all of the practical things that you're doing in the lodge, right, have nothing to do with the savage mathematical rigor associated with this drafting compass, right? But the Masons of the 12th century, of the Gothic era, right, that built those grand cathedrals over 200 years, right, they did use them, right? Right? Undoubtedly, it was used for the construction of the pyramids, right? And so that's what's taught in this book, John Michel, How the World is Made. And I'm reading it, and it's so lovely. It's so fucking wonderful that the geometer's creation, right, is rooted in all of these bizarre mathematical qualities. And I've read the book before, but it's wild. It's wild, like how specific it all is. Like when you just kind of like. Anyway, I'll probably do its own video on it once I read it all the way through. I've already made all of the constructions. But that's where Atlantis comes from. Atlantis comes from the back of that. Right? So the structure of the town, right, is rooted in Plato's espousal of it having Poseidon having 10 sons, right? There's 10 kings of Atlantis, right? So it's structured in 10. Right? So there's one 10-sided polygon in the center, and then there's 10, and then there's 20, and then there's 30, and it just keeps going on and on and on and on and on and on and on forever, right? And it becomes more and more like a circle as you get wider out. Right? So, the last thing that I'll say is that this book is a revelation. I was looking through it. Wild. This guy, Keith Critchlow, rest in peace, very sage, wise man. And this was in 1966 when he was a young man. Right? There's something to be said about that, right? That this was written when Coxeter was a young man in the 20s. Right? Ken Kesey said that writing is a young man's game. Right? That you gotta be young to like hold all those things in your head. And I don't think that that's necessarily true. Right? For sure, Mason and Dixon is Pynchon's best one, and he was in his 50s. Right? But there's something about innovation, inspiration, right? It's like you're channeling perhaps to a higher degree. Right? So, I've written a novelization of my experiences, and what I'll say is that it's like now we're in it, the depravity, right? The fucked up conspiracy to compel me to madness, right? So, Tribeca has come and gone now. Right? I've seen fish, which is clam. Trey Anastasio is involved. I wrote them a bunch of letters, right? And when I realized that Quentin just wants me to die, that he's just fucked up in his head, I said, I want you to send me everything that you received that involves me. Right? And they said nothing. Right? Let's just like think about this for a second. Let's just simple logic, like you're in a band, right? You're in a famous band, right? And you got a fan that's writing you letters, right? Right? This fan, he's been coming to see you for years. He spent every dollar he ever earned, right? Right? And so he reaches out to you and he says, I just feel like something's weird about like what's going on here. I want you to just send me everything that involves me. That's all. If in this hypothetical situation, right, the truth was that this fan, this big fan of yours, had sent you 4 or 5 letters and that he was mentally ill, right? Why wouldn't they? Right? Why wouldn't they send the letters to the fan and say, "We could tell that you're struggling. We know that, right? We know that you're suffering. Please know that we love you. Thank you for supporting us." Right? Unless they don't respect their fans. Right? But, right? If one of those correspondences is from Quentin slandering me, right? If he threw me right under the bus, right? Then it behooves them to cast their allegiances with evil, especially if he threatened to torture them. Right? So, we're reading through the novel, we're talking about the nature of reality, right? We're talking about the nature of mine and Quentin's relationship, right? How everything is put together, how psychics and clairvoyants operate, right? Again, Plato's apology, right? Right? Mystics and seers offer all of their rhapsody, having no clue or inclination as to how it comes to be in any way, right? So, right? Psychic scientist, right? Millennial dragon, right? And so I'll pick up where I left off. 2 days have passed. Sitting on the patio in the afternoon, smoking the vegetable, I knew my letters with the reviews and Clay had arrived. I thought of Willow, wondering if she forgave me. And she was there, professing, "I forgive you." All seems well. Her father appreciated the reviews, saying, "Okay, dude." I asked when they would make the announcement. Tomorrow. Today has been difficult. I awoke excited and found my psyche swallowed by the shadow, thinking everything bullshit and wished him dead. I don't know where it came from. Of course he heard. They are always with me. The day saw me get worse and worse. He started thinking hateful things about me too. Willow pleading with me to relax. I have taken to repeating this mantra to occupy my mind, which he became annoyed with after a time. I suppose I am on a ledge, psychologically. I need it to be real. I cannot reduce it, the cause, for now. As time passed and my condition worsened, I asked him what I could do to prove my fidelity. Did he want me to come there on my own? He said yes. Sitting in the library, napping awkwardly, Willow came to me. "Do you love me?" "Yes." "Then get up and go sell your camera to get to me." I did. I walked to Union Square-ish, to a pawn shop that gave me $300. I spent half of it on a flight in a few days from now. I land on September 11th. While sitting back on the center's patio after spending most of my remaining money on a bed, I had a breakthrough. Talking with someone, I thought on my biological father, and the sunshine of reason emerged. All of the men in my life have failed me. Absent father, no father figure. I always tell people I taught myself how to be a man, which is true. I see now the likeliest cause of my psychic convolutions bending towards destruction are projections of my opinion of my biological father. I say I want him dead because he actually loves me and wants me to be successful and wants to spend time with me, which, to an unannealed mind, is too good to be true. And so, the inevitable sabotage to come, I look ahead and become the architect of my own upbraiding. We all put the pieces together in real time. Willow seems excited again. Alistair seems to have settled down and is coming to trust me. Though I am a wreck. I am still unsure of Annabella, how she sees me. Willow and I have been spending lots of time together every night. I know she must have lots of boyfriends. I have no doubt they come in droves, as with Penelope and her suitors. Though what her tapestry is, I cannot say unless it is me. I still know very little about her. Our connection is sublime, worthy of capitalization, reverence. We have natural conversations with each other. She asks me anything, I answer, though I worry. I know when she tells me that I'm the only man she can ever love, and that all other men are faggots. That feels great. But that she won't call or text me. The darker part of me fears this is some vast humiliation ritual to see me suffer as retribution. I am now on the plane. Yesterday was perilous. Despite getting a free bed for the night, I was very upset all night. Willow was with me. But I am approaching the edges of sanity. So it feels. I don't see the need for us to continue in this manner, special or otherwise. It is an emergency frequency, and I cried most of the night, fearing madness. Alistair came, was reassuring. I slept bad. Walking to the airport, saw complete collapse, flashes of evil, perhaps truth. While walking, she wound me up. I professed in truth, "You're all I see." To which she replied zealously, "I'm all you see, the curse is lifted." My heart sank. I felt her eyes shifting in conspiracy against me, sensed bile and resentment. She only loves me when I hate her. She told me I had to stop her in front of the theater I first wrote to, Los Feliz area, and kiss her hard. I was immediately pissed off, and indeed resentful. Knowing me so well, seeing all of my concerns last night, to impose this psychic hurdle, another one. Is this love? I never do anything right, ever. Though I shouted, "Fine!" and resigned myself to continue playing this game, though it feels I am only being played. They fool me to the top of my bent. The plane is landing now. I will be at the theater in a few hours. Nothing went right. Some 4 days have passed. I arrived at the theater pretty early, 10 a.m., and was as distraught as is possible, pacing maniacally, and I did like I always do. Stopped everyone around her. I knew. She wore sunglasses and was walking a dog to disguise herself from me. Knowing I never looked her up, I was crippled with fear. I never did the right thing. She is her father's daughter. As she walked away, Alistair came. Go after her. She turned right and disappeared. I spiraled. I believed I was not well. I still cannot say one way or the other. I decided to walk to Cedars-Sinai in West Hollywood. It took me some 3 hours, maybe a little more. I told them as little as I had to, citing suicidal depression. I mentioned the letters. It is not a hard sell on delusion when all you have is your heart. No names. They admitted me. All I had to say was that I fantasized about jumping off a bridge into traffic. Though I cannot say if I actually had previously, or if it was not pure imagination in the moment. She came. I heard her. He's in the fetal position in a hospital bed. An ambulance came some 16 hours after I arrived, and the ritual of immobilization was performed a second time. They drove me to a psychiatric hospital in Alhambra, 72-hour hold, 5150. It was afternoon by the time I had my property inventoried and was admitted. I was subdued several hours between hospitals. This is a pure imprisonment experience. Total subjugation. All you can do is move your fingers and toes, flex your musculature, speak, move your mouth, and blink your eyes. Nothing else. I was as vague as my honesty would allow with the psychoanalyst. Nice, middle-aged guy, telling me how 37 is a great age. And it is true, I do feel at the height of my powers, even if it hasn't paid out yet. I told him it was complicated. I participated each day, talking without saying anything specific. I'm trying to be on my best behavior. I don't want to upset anyone. I was released yesterday afternoon and given a cab ride back to West Hollywood, to the street. I heard her even though the fog of the mids as I was processed out. He's getting out! He's getting out! Upon inspection of my bag, I saw that both my kratom and my LSD were still there. I wasn't sure what I was supposed to do. I decided to eat LSD, one hit, and write as much as I could about her. It felt good to be in love, and I wanted to know if it was real. I held the pen in my hand 6 hours, maybe 8, 10 sonnets and a letter, 3 pages. As I continued writing on the letter, discussing another poem written in my rhapsody of love while in New York, I heard her discussing it with her father. He said, "You wrote all those pages about my daughter?" I told him I'd mail everything tomorrow, to which he said, "Just deliver it." I agreed. Another 24 hours has passed since then. When I arrived at WME, they all looked apprehensive and quite shifty. I had my envelope in hand, telling them, "Delivery from Mike Simpson. You guys remember me. We're like old friends." The guy who escorted me out twice agreed to pass it on. I handed him the 25 or so pages, inside in an addressed brown envelope, and saw myself out. I can imagine what his assistant who reads all of it thinks. It is as dense as anything can be. They, all of them I mean, have read everything I've said. I am now sitting outside the 7-Eleven on Santa Monica and 18th. I hit a joint with a group of congenial tweakers. The one is a master orator, flawlessly disguised as a wretched, unfortunate, drug-addled degenerate. Very generous spirit, if consumed by the dog. He produced an acoustic guitar and preached the virtue of impediment, namely, that he only had the 4 middle strings, maybe 3. He was caught in this amphetamine loop, playing one of the key iconic phrases in Led Dirigible's The Lightning Song. He feels that Domiciles of the Devout is underrated. I'll have to listen to it. He knows how to play. I wanted to smash that fucking guitar into 1,000 pieces after hearing those 15 seconds of The Lightning Song on endless repeat. In my letter, I recalled how Alistair, after I tested negative, told her I had to put a baby in her to counter it, the curse. She seemed interested at the time. I would do that. I was prepared psychologically, before knowing how close she is to him, to counter my curse. Consume the hex I placed upon her. I am a sin-eater, and send her out into the world forgiven, as my equal, as my friend. Now I feel her father is right. The ultimate counter is for me to love and protect voraciously that person I cursed. It is the only true absolution. That rage is a very high watermark. Anything less is an ugly half measure. Today we were together all day. It feels that they had absconded and were flying back to Los Angeles. I worry I am mad. Alistair lauded my prowess. It's like he's in the room with us. Everyone seems excited. Annabella thanked me for my kind words, though she was in no way cozy. "Don't expect me to kiss your ass, but you be good to her." I told her I will. "This is great," Alistair said. "My son-in-law's a writer." Feels like I have a father who loves me, the love of a good woman, a beautiful power holder, an illustrious, august family, the journalist, the only thing I ever wanted, replete with cosmic eternal love. Around sunset, I walked 7 to 10 miles between West Hollywood and West L.A. along Santa Monica. After a couple of hours saw Beverly Hills and Westwood come and go, I encountered enough sketchy methods to compel my turning back, being in front of as well as behind me. I crossed the street to avoid them, and I passed by a restaurant with a cool patio of good-looking customers. I reflected on the bubble quality of Los Angeles. Several thousand people distributed throughout, living in the harshest, most vile filth imaginable. Being so wide, they disappear under the 405. If you have means and live comfortably, I'm sure it's great. The extremes of Los Angeles are furthest of all American cities. I've never seen any homeless encampments in New York in any way comparable to every neighborhood in Los Angeles, sans Beverly Hills. Even Malibu, having several permanent, well-cared-for encampments peppered throughout town, if you know where to look. I'm sure people live in their cars in New York, but everyone lives in their cars in Los Angeles. Every street corner. I am assured I'll change my opinion, which is now disdain. Despite being fatigued beyond compare, I walked all the way back to West Hollywood. I passed out in front of an office building across the street from a Gelson's. The metamorphosis from man to shithawk feels complete now, in the shame of dozens of pedestrians passing judgment. But I'm flying. This morning, Alistair, all 3 of us were thinking about it, introducing me to the world. Ideas came. I told him we didn't have to do anything immediately. Like I said in the letter, we need to come together, embrace, and stop these tactics. They are only necessary when they are. And if she does need me, that is its own emergency. And when she is as good to me as I intend to be to her, then it is towards something good, beautiful, true, otherwise. I have no reason to either trust or not trust her. And that's not true. Her expectations of me stop her. Her expectations of me to stop her tells me she is not interested in simple honesty. In the afternoon, sitting in the West Hollywood Library, I thought, I'll stay on the street until we're together. It's easy. I didn't come here to wait tables. I came to be with Willow and play the journalist. I love them all. She freaked out at my sincerity. Telling her father my plan, my thoughts, he asked me, "You really mean it?" One-word answer, "Yes." He said I made them love me even more, and that I didn't have to do that. Does she hate me? Is this some sick game? Does her father hate me? Is she real? What is it all toward? I was preparing to forgive her and never see her again. When Alistair wanted me to forgive her, I agreed, wanting us all to move forward. I didn't trust her. I've always wanted to trust Alistair. I've called him my father many times. He calls me son often. He said he wanted me to get cleaned up. So I found the place I would shower at in 22, and I'm going to sleep up the way out of sight. 2 days have passed. After taking my shower, I sat around until the library opened, smoking marijuana before going in. Alistair kept talking about how funny my scene is from my Velvis script. He asked me to watch his bar arbitrary appearance, the second one, taped just after I tested negative. He told me he was going to have an open casting call with my scene. I show up, I get the role. We do the play, then the movie, and of course I see the beauty of it. And I know the scene's funny. It's hilarious. But when I tried to watch, I started freaking out, sensing him with me watching. The fatherness of it all. I told him, and he tried to assure me that I was good, but I blurted out more hateful shit. He blasphemed and said it hurt. I apologized profusely. I never want to upset anyone, least of all the people I care most for. He said he'd leave me alone. I put on Gielgud's Richard II, closed my eyes, and buried my mind in my love mantra, wherein I attempt to say it constantly, my inner voice never having to breathe. By the time Mowbray makes his argument in the first scene, someone appeared. An old man. He had a golden halo, but was a spectral shadow. We spoke not at all. He stayed minutes, not very long. But we shared our uncomfortable silence. Always my love mantra. Shakespeare. He offered a gesture of departure as he left of grace. Charity, respect. Not long after, Alistair told me that I was good. That he, the old man, is his father-in-law, Annabella's father. He appears to trust me. All I have ever been is myself. I know everything will settle down once we're together. Another day. Shortly after getting into the library, Alistair asked me to go to Actors Equity in North Hollywood, said they would pick me up. He's been saying for almost a week now he's going to get us a place, a starter home, he says. I find myself fantasizing about living with Willow, being with her, and when she reads my mind I feel foolish. On the other side of that I imagine her being cruel, and I think of every Hollywood asshole she might fuck instead of me, and when she reads my mind I despise her. She reduces me in her witching way to a sterile intellectual formula. I hate that about her. I am more than my weaknesses. When I got to Equity, he directed me up the way. And after walking in the sun for a time, I thought, this is bullshit. This is fucking bullshit. No more. And I turned back. Alistair was frustrated, assuring me I was strong enough. And while that is true, I am listening. I need crepuscular truth. Is it unreasonable? Am I aiming too high in my desire for honesty? I have arrived back in my West Hollywood corner of shame. Between here and there, Willow lamented putting me in a state, saying she needed to go to me. They were very encouraging. I'll start holding my breath now. I suppose I'll stop. That's a good place to stop. Right? So, again, it's a novelization of my experiences on the psychic frontier with Quentin Tarantino. Right? There is no daughter. Right, the starter home, right, it's all just him to humiliate me. That whole time they were like, oh, Hardy, oh, what a jackass. This guy thinks he's my son. Right, all out of trust, all out of love to say, oh, no, I do respect you. Because I felt bad about Tribeca. So... right? I'll take a second to discuss some of the last things that I was regaling in my novel. when I got to equity, he directed me up the way. Right? So, anyone who's read, right, and he fucking hates me right now, right? Anyone who's read Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the novel, knows that, right, that Charles Manson does the same thing with Margaret Qualley's character. Pussycat, I think her name is. Right? So the point being, right, that he was trying to get me arrested, and then when I'm in handcuffs, he'd go, gotcha, right? Now you know the game you're playing. Right? Ha 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 ha. He failed. He had to resort to actual evil to get me to go to the hospital. Right? Which anyone can do. Right? Right? That's why I put that video up that I sent to the Pope. Right? Because you have to be a complete fucking evil degenerate to do any of those things. Right? He'll always deny. Right? He doesn't know anything that I'm talking about. Right? But just read the novel, right? Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, the novel. Right? Right? So, right, life is not an accident. Right? There's a latent intellect embedded within every cubic centimeter of space, a conscious field, right? Diffused within that is an infinite complex of nested polyhedra, right? Which is a perfectly nested quantum hologram of probability, waveform potential. So the conscious field breathes, exerts pressure upon the hologram, right, which mutates it into what we perceive as the measurable manifested world. The trouble with measurement is only a problem if you don't believe in deity, if you don't believe in God, right? Which is not a creature, right? It's an intellectual quality, right? Right? That when God is at rest, the hologram is a probability of potential, is a quantum electric waveform of probability, right? And then when God exerts, right, the intellectual principle exerts pressure upon the hologram, right, it collapses it, right? Just like the photon gun, right? With man, right? With the trouble with measurement, right? That when we're not observing it, it's a wave, right? When we observe it, it collapses, right? It's the same principle, right? All instances of clairvoyance, right, psychic phenomenon, is the mind of the adept tapping into, right, their connection to the non-local conscious field, right? The conscious resonance which is unilaterally distributed within all space, right? Right? Again, right? Most clairvoyants, most people who remote view all these things, they don't understand any of that. Right? They don't know anything about that. It's intuitive, right? It's like a musician who doesn't know theory. Now, there's any number of great musicians that don't know theory, right? Right? So this is Socrates' point in Apology, right? That the oracles at Delphi, right, they offer up their rhapsody, right? Their visions of ecstasy, right? Having no clue about what's occurring scientifically, but that's why I'm here, right? So, Quentin is one of the most powerful psychic clairvoyants in the world. For sure, gotta be the most powerful in Hollywood, right? I am the most powerful clairvoyant of the millennial generation, right? We've been in an obtuse psychic siege for going on 2 years now. And I suppose I'll stop because, right, 34 minutes. But pray for me, pray for Quentin, right? Pray to bring this to an amicable resolution. You know? There's no formula where we persist in this way for 10 years. You know, it's just sick. It's just a sick pathological psychology. This is why I'm talking about it, right? This is why I live in perpetual fear that he's going to send people to assassinate me. Because if I'm gone, he has no more problems. But I've imprinted onto his psyche in a palpable way, just like he's imprinted onto mine, him and the people around him. So, right. 9601 Wilshire Boulevard, William Morris Endeavor, right? Mike Simpson. That's his agent. If you wanted to write, if you wanted to help, Like, comment, subscribe, share. His movie theater is 1822 North Vermont. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Uplift your soul to God. See what's good in your life. Hold those close to you. Hold those dear to you close. I love you all. Right? Know that life is not an accident. Right? That while we have the horizon of our ignorance, right, you can know how God operates, and that's through love and giving. So, right, do something nice for someone else. Uplift your soul to God. God bless.